How can we build communities around the impact we want to make in the world? How do we get people engaged and excited to support our missions when everyone is so busy already? How do we get others to care? This season will bring you people that decide to look closer. They look where others have turned away. They are building communities to make a positive impact. I am Regina Larco, and this is #Impact, a podcast about stuff that matters. Today, I sit down with Erika L. Watson, the founder and CEO of the Intersection Collective, a platform to advocate and empower at the intersection of race and disability. The Intersection Collective focuses on impacting the lives of children of color with intellectual and/or developmental disabilities, their families and communities, and supporting the evolution of executives on a journey to become more intentionally inclusive in their leadership. Erika also served on the Equitable Nutrition in Schools Advisory Council to First Lady Michelle Obama, producing the historic Child Nutrition Reauthorization Act of 2010, which expanded children's access to nutritious meals and increased nutrition and food system education for millions of students in under-resourced communities. In 2002, she founded Dress for Success in Washington, D.C., a not-for-profit focused on helping unemployed and hard-to-employ women build skills and secure meaningful career opportunities. To date, Dress for Success has helped more than 30,000 women, many of whom are disabled, BIPOC, formerly incarcerated, and own intersectional marginalized identities in the national capital community along the path toward meaningful employment and financial self-sufficiency. Erika, talk about impact. I'm stumbling a little bit over my own words here. Erika, it's such a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to #Impact.
Thank you for sharing space with me, Regina. I really appreciate it. I am excited to have a really heartfelt conversation with you.
And what did I miss in that intro?
I don't think you missed anything. I feel like those are all my public and professional accomplishments, titles, and personas. In addition to that, I'm also a mom. I'm also a caregiver to a parent with disabilities, cognitive disabilities. I am a lover of good food and good wine and art and culture and all of the things. But I feel like that kind of rounds out who I am a little bit as a person and not just as a professional.
There was a beautiful mantra I found on your website. Nothing about us without us.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more.
Yeah, nothing about us without us is a mantra that has really grown out of the disability rights movement. A lot of people don't appreciate how young disability rights really are. The Americans with Disability Act is the most all-encompassing piece of legislation that ensures equity for people with disabilities. And that piece of legislation is 34 years old. So within our lifetime, it has become a law that you cannot discriminate against people based on their different abilities. So it's really important when you are doing intersectional work that includes disability, that I think you appreciate that people from the disability community have a voice, have ideas, have solutions for many of the systems that have marginalized them and that have in the past called them out instead of calling them in. And it is much more effective as an agent of change, as a driver of impact, to center the experiences and the wisdom and the voices of the community that you are trying to serve. It's the difference between doing unto and doing alongside, being in service to a community means including the voices, including the experiences, including the wisdom of the very community that you are trying to be in service to. And so that's really where that comes from. Um, I myself am a person of color with a disability, and my mother, um, in 2016 was diagnosed with the beginnings of Alzheimer's dementia. And as that disease progressed and she began to have more significant and debilitating cognitive decline, you heard me mention at the beginning, I've become a caregiver for my mother. And I feel like my disability is really along the neurodivergence path. So it's really easy. I've developed coping mechanisms. It's really easy for me to not name, and to code switch, and to kind of blend into traditionally abled culture and society. I feel like I was really, really confronted with a lot of the inequities and the lack of justice, um, that the disability community faces when I became the caregiver for my mother. So when you have a loved one that is going through an illness like Alzheimer's dementia or like cancer or something that is just very heavy and profound and usually is terminal in its condition, you kind of experience the disability with them. So you kind of wear the armor with them. And just small things became so hard. Trying to help take care of my mom's bills, trying to, help pay her bills, trying to schedule doctor's appointments for her, trying to, this week she had a dentist appointment. It was so hard just trying to like get her out of her wheelchair into my car to the dentist, pack the wheelchair in the back of the car, unpack the wheelchair, get her out of the car, get her into the wheelchair, get her into the dentist's office. The wheelchair barely fit through the door to the dentist's office. It didn't fit through the door to get into the operatory where the dentist was working. So we had to kind of like shimmy her and like pick her up and move her. And I don't think that the world is really built to be intentionally inclusive of people with disabilities. And that's really what the work of the Intersection Collective wants to be, is bringing a degree of purposefulness, bringing a degree of intentionality to how we make room for people with intersectional identities that include disability to experience full citizenship, full citizenship in whatever communities they are a part of.
And how do you do that? Hearing you share this, I feel this is it's so big that I wouldn't even know where to start. Where do you start? Where do you start amplifying these voices from the community so that they then are actually heard, and we can all build a more inclusive society? How does that even practically, when did you actually say like, I'm gonna do something about this?
Yeah, I feel like, how do you do any really big, seemingly overwhelming task, right? I think in the policy space, there's a saying like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I think approaching this work is very much, one bite at a time. You do the very best you can for the people that are in your immediate inner circle. So for me, that's my mother, that's my son, that, I do what I can to make sure that they have equitable access to all of the things that they need to experience full belonging, full citizenship. And part of my drive and motivation for building the Intersection Collective has really been, if I'm going to do all of this heavy lifting, I'm going to do all of this advocacy and all of this fighting and all of this pushing to make sure that, my loved ones have an equitable opportunity to live a full and complete life, however they define that. Then my community is going to benefit from that. It's like it's hard work. And so a lot of people need to be better off because of it. And that, I think, is part of my true north when I do this work is, yes, primarily it's about my mom and my child, my son, but also it's about my community. It's about my culture. It's about making sure that as my child grows up and goes out into the world, that he's not also fighting the same battles, 20 years from now that I'm fighting on his behalf today. Like, let there be new challenges. Let there be new hurdles for him. But like, don't let us be in a position where he's still knocking down the same hurdles that I'm trying to knock down today. And I feel like that's kind of the motivation for the work that I do. And you're right, it is a very broad task. It is a very big, audacious goal that we have. But we are committed to eating that elephant one bite at a time.
Mm. I hear that in your voice. I hear it. I feel it. I think everyone listening right now feels it too. Feels it too, and wants to be inspired by that one bite that you are taking, right? So on a, and I know for sure there's not a regular day, a normal day in when we're looking at your work with the Intersection Collective. But could you give us like a little taste and an example of programs that you can run to inspire that change?
Yeah, for sure. So you're right. Like every day has its own unique highs and lows, pits and peaks, we call them. Every day has its own pits and peaks. But right now, what's center of the plate for me and for the Intersection Collective is we are developing a pitch for a new pilot program that we are trying to implement in partnership with public school systems here, that empowers parents of color who have children with learning differences and disabilities to be more effective advocates for their children. So our research, we do quite a bit of research. When I keep referring to me and my team, we are mostly a team of academics. And so we approach our work very much from an evidence-based research methodology perspective. And so research has suggested that there really are 4 areas in education where people at the intersection of race and disability consistently experience the most acute inequities. And that those 4 areas are family engagement and support, identification, discipline, and placement. And so we are trying to develop models for how do we improve or how do we create more equitable experiences for the families, the village that supports the children with these intersectional identities. And so we've designed a pilot that literally is called The Village. And The Village is intended to create a community network of parents, familial caregivers, mentors, community leaders, quite frankly, anybody who finds themselves in a position of needing to advocate for a young person, a child, at the intersection of race and disability. And we are trying to empower that community, that village, through culturally responsive and inclusive advocacy training to teach them how to advocate for their children in a way that increases their cultural capital, in a way that increases their ability to influence people in authority, decision makers across lines of cultural difference, racial difference. And then we are trying to connect those people together, because traditional special education advocacy can be a very individualistic, lonely process. And so you don't get the benefit of community knowledge, shared information, shared experiences, which can go a long way towards increasing your effectiveness, amplifying your voice. And so we are trying to change that. We are trying to build a platform and a community that intentionally brings together the members of the village and arms them with culturally responsive and inclusive advocacy training, and arms them with a community of critical supporters to help everyone amplify their voice and amplify their impact, to the end that all of our children have a more equitable experience matriculating through their educational life cycle. So we are developing our elevator pitch, our very crisp pitch for that. We are identified as a finalist in a policy pitch competition that will happen in 3 weeks from now. And we'll have an opportunity to kind of pitch this idea. And if we win the pitch, we will get funding to be able to implement this pilot, here in our local community. So that's kind of what's center of the plate for us right now. And so we were really excited about that. And then all the other things that I think come along with leading a not-for-profit research-based organization. You're always writing grants. You're always writing proposals. There's never a moment when you're not trying to raise money to continue to fund the work that you're doing. But that's kind of a day in the life right now.
Mm. Oh, and I'm smiling because even just being that finalist, I think, and when you said the word celebrate, we're celebrating this, and I think that's so important when we're looking at social impact work. That is hard. I mean, let's just be honest, right? It's hard because it's often heartbreaking, I feel.
It is. It's hard because because you are emotionally invested. Yeah. And also because I don't think we do a great job of celebrating small victories. We wait for the big monumental policy change. We wait for the big, judgment, the big verdict in the case. And we overlook the small victories along the way that I think are important to acknowledge and celebrate, because it's part of what makes the work sustainable. It's part of what keeps you sustained, so that you kind of come back and, to continue to fight another day, to continue to take the next, bite of the elephant. You need to celebrate those victories, big and small. And I think we try to do a good job of that. And, the celebrations don't always need to be big blowout things. It could just be as minor as, we successfully completed that grant proposal. And so today I'm going to, I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to go to my favorite ice cream parlor and I'm going to get 2 scoops of the double chocolate chip ice cream today. Or, I'm going to go to my favorite apothecary, and I'm going to treat myself to, a tube of my favorite lipstick, my favorite red lipstick. Like it can be small things like this. It can be like, I'm going to take extra 20 minutes and go for a longer walk outside because the sun is shining today and it's unseasonably warm where I am. And so I want some vitamin D on my skin. So I'm going to take an extra 30 minutes today in the middle of my afternoon. I'm going to go like just walk in the sun. And that's my moment of like celebrating myself. Like, good job. You're still here. You're still showing up. Like, yeah, good job. Like, stay in it. Stay in it. There's reward coming. There's reward coming. There's encouragement coming.
I I love everything about that. These are like really good, actually practical suggestions that you just made now as well, right? To everyone listening, to little moments of gratitude and self-care as well. I mean, when we are looking at this work, it's so easy to forget to put that oxygen mask on first, right? But as you say, if you're a caregiver, caretaker, you have so many responsibilities as well on when you are taking care of others. I think that's something that oftentimes it's not even if we would want to take care of ourselves, sometimes there's just no time to even do that, right?
Regina, it's interesting, right? You made an interesting comment, like you have to put your oxygen mask on first. And it's true. I also kind of think about it as you want to be able to give to your loved ones. You want to be able to give to your community or give to your work, give to the things that are important to you out of your overflow, not out of your lack. And if we don't take time to take care of ourselves, to fill up our own hearts and souls, then we end up trying to be in service to the people we care about most out of our lack. And that's when we end up showing up for our loved ones, showing up for the people we want to show up for in ways that don't make us feel good, in ways that make us feel like, oh God, like it's like I don't get to do this. I have to do this. It's like I don't get to, help my mom get to her dental appointment. Like I have to do it. It's another task. It's another chore. If I feel like any of the service work that I'm doing is obligatory, is perfunctory, then I know that I'm doing it out of my lack. I'm not doing it out of my overflow. And so then it becomes incumbent upon me to pause and find ways to fill up my heart, fill up my soul, so that I have some abundance. I have some of that overflow with which to give, with which to care for the people that I love most, people that are closest to me, right? And the work that is closest to me. I think that's an important litmus test for us all to consider is when you are doing work that you love or when you are supporting and caring for people that you love and the act of doing it doesn't feel good. The act of doing it feels depleting, feels onerous, feels like I have to versus I get to. That's your trigger to say like, okay, and there needs to be some me time. And I feel like I went through 2020 COVID season, I think was hard for everybody. For me, it was particularly challenging because I refer to our home as the circus because there's literally 3 rings of chaos happening all the time. And I felt very, like many people, I felt very overwhelmed whelmed. And I maintained virtual contact with my therapist, and we would do like these bi-monthly like Zoom telehealth sessions. And my therapist asked me at one point, Erika, what are you doing right now for joy, for your own joy? And I was literally caught off guard by the question. I felt like he was insulting me with the question. And my literal visceral response to that question was, who has time for joy? Why would you ask me such a ridiculous thing? Did you not hear the 20,000 things that I am trying to do before 4 o'clock today? Like, who has time for I was thinking of my own joy as malfeasance, as like the absolute mismanagement of time, a mismanagement of resources to invest in my own joy. And that for me was like a big, like, oh my gosh, Erika, slow down, slow down. Like, what are you doing? You are so depleted. You are so empty that you think your joy, like you think doing things just because it makes you feel joyful is an inappropriate allocation of time and resources. Like, what kind of twisted existence is that when you think of your own happiness as an inconvenience, as a waste of time and money, and energy and effort? And so when I kind of crashed into that wall and I crashed into that reality, I had to really start thinking differently about how I'm showing up, for like how I'm showing up, period, how I'm showing up in this life, how I'm showing up for my loved ones, how I'm showing up for my work, how I'm showing up for my team, how I'm showing up in the community. Um, because I was failing consistently to put my own oxygen mask on first. And not just failing to put my own oxygen mask on first, but also thinking about it like I don't deserve oxygen. I like everybody else around me needs the oxygen. I can't take the oxygen because then there won't be enough for the people around me that I'm responsible for taking care of. And that is just a really twisted way to think. But I feel like so many people are in that same spot and just haven't been confronted with the reality of why is your joy, why is your happiness, why is your vitality tertiary, not even secondary, but tertiary to everything else in your world? Why? Why is that? Why does that need to be true? Can it be true that you can experience joy, frequent moments of joy, that you can experience frequent moments of your own happiness, and the people that you love can also have enough of the oxygen that they need to breathe and thrive and survive? And I think it is possible. Both things can simultaneously be true. And so I feel like recovery from that place is a gradual process. You don't realize it, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, I'm cured. No, it's not that. But I realize it. I realized the fallacy of my thinking when I was in that place. And I committed to myself for myself. I think that's an important distinction. I committed to myself for myself that I wanted to be a better, healthier version of me for me. Not I wanted to be a better, healthier version of me so I could be a better mom, or a better, healthier version of me so I could be a better caregiver, or a better, healthier version of me so I could be a better CEO and leader of a team. Like, yes, those are benefits. Those are ancillary benefits of being a better, healthier version of me. But fundamentally, I want to be a better, healthier version of me because I like me better when I'm happy. I like me better when my cup is full, when my heart is full. And because I deserve oxygen. It's not a treat. I tell people all the time that you're not the family pet. It's like taking care of yourself is not a treat that you get for obedience. It's not a treat that you get for performing for all of the other people in your life. Like, if you want the manicure, girl, go get the manicure. If you need a haircut, go get your haircut. Like, it's not a reward. Self-care is not a reward for performing or behaving. Um, and so really practicing that, like, I deserve the oxygen. I deserve consistent moments of joy in my life. And I like me better when I have those things. Like, that's a mindset shift. And I think once you make it, then gradually the micro moments of celebration, the micro moments of victory, the micro moments of self-care, they begin to accumulate, and it begins to become a habit. And I think at this point in my life, it's kind of now it's a doctrine. And I feel like I'm really committed to my boundaries, to make sure that I have space and room to fill my own heart, to fill my own cup. And I'm not, thinking of myself as the family pet who doesn't deserve.
And that actually brings me also to the community you serve, the people you support. Because we all deserve that, right? They all deserve that joy, and to feel that freedom to be included and to be seen, and not having to, squeeze an elevator through a door that doesn't fit because no one even had considered that this would be and I almost said necessary, but that's the wrong word. That should be just a given, not something that you say, oh, thank you for giving this access, oh, thank you for making this possible for my community, but to say this is like a human right, a birthright. That's
right. To be able to experience belonging within the community with which you identify. Belonging is a birthright. And I think that for certain segments of the population, belonging feels like a reward. It feels like a treat. And that is the mindset shift, and that is the experience that we are trying to change.
Erika, what can I do? What can the hashtag impact listeners do to support you and to become advocates?
I think that's it exactly. Become an advocate, right? Understand what the needs of the disability community look like where you are, and help to amplify those voices. Add your voice to the choir. A good way to learn and understand how to be a good ally to a particular community is to understand that community's art. If you read books, if you watch movies, if you listen to music created by and about people with disabilities, what you'll understand is they live very three-dimensional, full, rich lives. Like, they have love stories and broken hearts. They have successes and failures. They have triumphs and trials, just like traditionally able people do. And those are the stories that you hear when you read literature, when you watch film, created by and about the disability community. So it gives you a better understanding of the three-dimensional lives that people are living. And I think when you understand that, it helps you become a better ally. It helps you become a better amplifier of the advocacy voices. And so I encourage people to do that. Like oftentimes when you think about working across lines of difference, immediately you want to like go ask a person who owns an identity that you don't. Like, tell me what it's like, or tell me, like, is this okay or is that okay? And am I saying it right, or am I doing it right if I do this? And we don't understand that that's actually harmful. That's actually, traumatizing for that individual. Um, People with marginalized intersectional identities are not here to educate you or to alleviate your concerns that you are, like being some way, somehow politically incorrect or racist or ableist or xenophobic or any of the isms, right? Like, it's not my job as a Black woman with a disability to alleviate you of your worries that you're being ableist and or racist. It's your job to learn more about, my culture and about my experience, so that you can answer the questions for yourself. And I think, studying art and culture by and about people who own marginalized identities is a great place to start doing that work. The next thing that I think is a great place for your listeners to start is to ally yourself with advocacy groups and organizations. Like, maybe go to a conference. There's an organization called Disability In that does a disability summit every year. And it's a huge conference. It's a great place to go to actually learn, like, what is the policy platform, of the disability community? Like, what are we advocating for? Like, things like that help to help inform your message. So I think studying the art and the culture to learn more about the lived experience helps you to raise your voice, right? It helps you to understand how your message, to help you understand how to raise your voice. And then I think understanding more about like what advocacy work actually looks like and what, current policies currently are, and what priority issues currently are. I think that part helps you to refine your message. And then also like make room, share the mic, share your platforms with people who own marginalized identities. That is a very helpful thing to do. Is that if you are a person in an environment who owns a privileged identity, give your platform to someone who has a marginalized identity so that they can center their own voices, so that they can speak on their own behalf, amplified through your platform of privilege. I think those are three things that any person can do.
Yeah, let's do that. And I know I want to continue this conversation, Erika, and I want to encourage everyone to connect with you as well directly and support your work. But today I know I have to let you go so that you can get out there, take that walk. I see the sun shining through the window there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I won't let you go until you go through the quick fire round with me. Are you ready for that?
Okay. I'm ready.
Making an impact means
Doing your part to create the world as you believe it could be.
who inspires you in the way they show up for building community.
My girlfriend's group chat. It's like my good group of girlfriends. We have a group chat, and we've named it the Golden Girls. And I am constantly inspired by the way the Golden Girls show up for other members of the pack and other members of the community. I think that we don't really appreciate all of the support and the network and the communities that we have until we need them, until we are experiencing some sort of stress or some sort of trauma, and we actually need people to show up for us. And I think I'm going through a season of that in my own life, and I have just been blown away by how my Golden Girls have shown up for me in ways big and small, ways that I've asked them to, and ways that I haven't even asked. They just did. And so that is, in this moment right now, my inspiration.
And what could everyone do right now after they listen to this episode to make the world an even better place?
Go study a piece of art created by someone who has an identity that you don't share.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah. Read a book, watch a movie, listen to some music created by someone about their own experience from an identity group that you don't belong to.
Thank you for being here today, Erika, taking the time, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that moment that we got to share. It was very precious. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for sharing your platform to help amplify our work and my voice. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'd love to see you at one of our next community calls. So reach out to me if you want to join at hello@impact.com. This is a free offering for our #Impact community, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you there. I talk to you soon. Bye.